Now then, we're turning our attention to golf's second major of the year. Starts tomorrow, the US PGA 2022. Southern Hills is the venue in Oklahoma. We are without the defending champion Phil Mickelson. We are with Tiger Woods, winner the last time the US PGA was held at this venue. That was back in 2007. And then from an Irish perspective, Shane Lowry, Rory McIlroy, Padraig Harrington and Seamus Power all present and correct. McIlroy naturally, and Shane Lowry, given his recent form, amongst the contenders. Very, very happy to say we're joined by Geoff Shackelford. You can check out his work at geoffshackelford.com. Golf writer. The Quadrilateral is his newsletter. He is at the course. Geoff, thanks for making time for us.
My pleasure. Good to be on.
Not every championship where the defending champion is not present, and certainly not due to the circumstances surrounding Phil Mickelson. It has been the most extraordinary couple of months in golf. So we had thought he might play, and he was registered to play. In the end, he's chosen not to. Why do you think Mickelson has stayed away here, Geoff?
Oh, it's multi-layered. Where to start? Well, you know, a number of things. He has been playing. He just has a litany of issues, I think. I don't think he'd be comfortable being here because he's probably got some conflict with some people who are here. He's got some internal conflict about how you should be able to make a living in golf, and it's diametrically opposed to what the PGA Tour and European Tour, DP World Tour model is. And so you have that. I think he's made clear in his statement he has some personal issues that he's dealing with, and he put that in his somewhat of an apology statement. So you kind of add those things up, and he hasn't been playing tournament golf, and I think it was just one of those things that he wouldn't be comfortable being here, and I'm not sure how many of his peers at the moment really want to see him here.
Interesting, because Mickelson, as you said, is a layered case, and he's a complex personality. Generally, for years, a fairly one-dimensional personality. When it came to the galleries, he was big smile, he was thumbs up, he was the Arnie of his generation, and maybe a more complex character behind the scenes amongst his peers. What's been their general sentiment when asked about Mickelson over the last couple of days? Like I know Woods was, for instance.
Well, it's been very mixed. You know, Tiger gave really his most pointed comments to date about his very different philosophic stance on what a pro golf life means, and the idea of a legacy tour, and building your career around major championships, and earning your money on the course. Was really quite a staggering statement that Tiger gave yesterday, just sort of off the cuff in the press conference. When you go back and read it on paper, it reads like something that somebody would have worked very hard to script and to explain their position on. It's quite beautiful if you are in agreement with that notion that what makes golf interesting is this idea of these people going out there and playing for money and playing for prizes, and doing it without a salary and a contract and a guarantee. So, you know, his comments were pretty damaging, really, I feel, to both Phil and to the concepts that are being floated. And he did it obviously in a very dignified, respectful way, but it's a pretty devastating statement. Other players have been very clear. They think it's kind of sad he's not here, he's not defending. Rory McIlroy went down that road, and there's no question, because, you know, our sport always can use little injections of excitement. And when we had something like last year, which was historic, the oldest player to win a major championship in a sport where it's really neat that somebody can contend or win a major championship at an older age, you want to celebrate that. And that's kind of gone this year from this championship, and maybe takes away from it a touch. So there's that, but I think there are plenty of other players who are not real happy with him, and for a variety of reasons, and so they're not so sad that he's staying away, and likely probably not to turn up until the first event in London of the Live Tour.
Last time we were here for a major. Of course, Tiger Woods was the US PGA winner in '07. It was an immaculate performance, really, on Woods' part. He pitches up here again in 2022. A lot of water under the bridge since 2007. What's the word on Woods' form and his body in comparison with Augusta?
Well, I've been here since Sunday, and the good news is Monday, he looked sensational, and yesterday he was in good form in the press conference, moving very well. I just came in off the course, and I watched his last 3 holes of the practice, and he's not moving as well today. It's just one of those days. He clearly woke up and hitting the ball fine, by the way, and chipping and putting, and he was playing with Anirban Lahiri and doing his work and all that. But when you watched him walk, it was hard to watch him walk. He was just taking very short steps. It's a very warm day, so there's no excuse for not being able to warm up. It's just one of those, I think he woke up a certain way and is not feeling so good. But I would have told you after, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, he was so energized and working so hard around the greens, trying every little shot imaginable. And so it was a little jarring to see him a little less comfortable today.
And how does his game look?
Looks sensational. I mean, the ball striking is so good, and the short game, he's just putting on these little shows, going around the greens and these little bump and skip and then stop shots, and he can hit them high and low. And then I think really the thing that's so amazing about all of this is that, we went through so many stages with his hitting the ball all over the place and struggles with his swing, and it just doesn't seem to be an issue now. I think I saw him hit one what I'd call just not good shot in those first few practice rounds, and I think he was just trying to hit a low shot and he missed it. And that's just incredible to everything that's happened to his body, that he has found something. And it's repeating, and that's just not an easy thing to do in golf, especially when you've had some of the injuries that he's had.
Yeah, it's quite interesting with Woods, Geoff, in that he's always had these very high-profile teachers for much of his career, going right back to Butch Harmon, and the sense was in the build-up to his win at the Masters in '19, he was in effect just coaching himself by and large. Is that still pretty much the case? Tiger is just using his generally acknowledged massive golf acumen to figure it out himself, or is he working with anybody?
Yes, no, that is part of the irony of this story with his golf swing and his ball striking, is that I left that part out. We've gone through the musical teachers. We were laughing here in the press center the other day. Remember the Chris Cuomo week or 2 weeks? It was a short run, but yes, he went through a lot of different ideas, and Hank Haney and Sean Foley and Butch Harmon. And he now has his friend Rob McNamara, who's a good single-digit golfer, and who goes everywhere with him, works for his company, and Rob knows what to look for. And I think Tiger's just told him, I want to know if I'm doing this or that, and he kind of stands behind him occasionally, keeps an eye on things, and that's about it. But he has, and it's one of those things that's very hard to ask him. You just want to say, what is it you found? You've clearly found something after all of that time, of all that drama with the swing changes and the ball going everywhere. I mean, he just does not hit those shots anymore. Those moon balls, and he can move it both ways, and it sounds so good when you hear it. So he found something, and he could tell us. It probably wouldn't help any of us, but a lot of the players today like to keep those things a secret. But the main point is, he's gotten away from this idea of needing to have a guru or an instructor, which is ironic in today's game, since I just came from the course and every player's got all these people out there inside the ropes looking at him, and you just think, oh geez, maybe this is a little much.
Yeah, it's amazing how Woods has gone from this revolutionary golfer to almost old school now before our eyes in that respect, and others. So Southern Hills, like I said, we were last year in '07. Few changes since then. One of the things we're hearing is that the grass around the greens has been cut right down. So, I mean, a lot of us increasingly prefer this type of golf whereby you don't hit the right spots, and in these greens in particular, ball's going to run into very short grass, and that will require nerve and imagination around the greens, as opposed to when they just have the rough high and it's a chunk and run. And in a sense, that actually is a leveler, because the great chippers don't get to express themselves. But it all points, Geoff, to precision iron player and a brilliant chipper around the greens. That's what we're hearing. Is that what you're seeing out there?
Yeah, that's correct. It's, in the past majors era, it's just been a really dreary venue in a couple of regards. One, it's always been so hot. You read the accounts, and it hit 100 one day at least, when they played in August or even June. And then it was just so tree lined, and it was dark. There were just so many trees. There were shadows, and then high rough, every green surrounded by high rough. And it was a lot of irons off the tee. And so now you have two things. You have everything you just described around the greens and the precision required, and then also the ability, if you can read the sort of the grain in the Bermuda grass, different ways to recover from around the greens. And that's a lot of fun for everybody to watch that instead of just a big hack out of rough. But it's also encouraging players to hit driver more. And, our experience is that when a tournament puts people on the defensive, it's a real slog and very boring. And so I think you combine with the ability to be aggressive off the tee and free these guys up a little bit more to attack. You're going to see some people get into trouble, but you're also just going to see, I think, a little more variety on the leaderboard of styles of player, and it's going to reward somebody who's playing well right now, which is ultimately what you want in a golf course. And that doesn't always happen. And so I just can't be more excited about this week, because I just feel like we're going to see a lot of different things. Oh, and the other thing I haven't mentioned is the forecast, just like last year's PGA, which is kind of dreamy too if you're into this architecture stuff like I am. We're probably going to see a different wind every day, a different direction, and that just adds to the fun, because it tells you somebody who's done their homework and knows how to adjust.
With the view to how the bookies see this then, Jon Rahm and Scotty Scheffler are joint favourites. Justin Thomas, Rory McIlroy right behind them. Jordan Spieth, who of course is going for the career Grand Slam, then is kind of 14-1 territory. Colin Morikawa and his brilliant iron play and his really good major record thus far, 16-1. And then we're into a whole glut of players. Dustin Johnson, Cam Smith, Shane Lowry being talked about, Patrick Cantlay, Xander Schauffele, and on we go. Scotty Scheffler is such an interesting case. We've had this season, Geoff, for the casual golf fans listening in, whereby Scheffler has gone from not having won a tournament in his career to now, this year, ascending to world number one, going into the Masters as world number one, fresh off a victory, and delivering big time. And still, I don't know, I not a disrespect, but there's still like, what does this guy have to do to be favourite in the tournament? Rahm is there with him. Who is going to really push Scheffler here, assuming that he manages to maintain his red hot form? Because going into Augusta, you couldn't say any of the top 10 were really on fire.
No, it's been a strange year that way. A lot of our top players are just been a little bit off. I guess if I had to pick somebody, I feel like it's Jordan Spieth. Just the way he's been playing, and certainly this week is it's just a place. It's just everything about this week. If the pressure isn't too much, or he doesn't think about it too much, which he does. We just had a great press session with him today, and he's just so interesting. Yeah. And he grew up on this kind of golf, this kind of grass. He's got a magical short game. This kind of the wind, he loves to play in the wind. Not a lot of guys like the wind, so he's rooting for wind. Everything is lining up for him this week. And of course, but there is that looming thing that he's appreciative of, he wants badly, and appreciates the value of, which is becoming a career Grand Slam winner. And not a lot of people have done that in the history of the game. You're talking about Gene Sarazen, Jack Nicklaus, Gary Player, Tiger Woods, and Ben Hogan, I believe, are the only ones. And that would be just an unbelievable thing to do. And but everything here is just made for him to complete the slam. So he's probably the person we're all most interested in seeing what he's doing, and we're going to get a good look because he's playing with Rory and Tiger.
We did text, and I know what a marquee group. The USPGA is delivering. I mean, move over. Like, that's the kind of group we've been waiting for. So Tiger and Jordan Spieth and McIlroy in one group. Spieth is such an interesting character in that when he burst onto the scene his game was better than people suggested, but certainly he wasn't a prodigious ball striker. And yet, any time he was on a green, he seemed to hole a putt. He's almost, Geoff, become an inverse of that of late. He's transformed his ball striking after really being in the doldrums for a couple of years. He's now striking the ball brilliantly. And yet, and again, this was unthinkable a couple of years ago, Jordan Spieth, even over like a 5-footer, is now heebie-jeebie territory. He won his tournament this year at Hilton Head, and he was 60th in putting. Now, to win a tournament and be 60th in putting is unheard of. Even in his interview on the 18th, he said, "I don't know how I did this. I won without a putter." So, like, he's fidgety. He talks a lot. He's stressed a lot. He's kind of like Seabiscuit out there in some respects. I mean, he's compelling, that's for sure. It's the question mark, weirdly, with Spieth now is not so much his ball striking. It's how's he going to be on the greens? Did he address that point in the press conference in any depth?
A little bit. We kind of focused on a variety of topics, and it's one of those things that it is peculiar that somebody who is such a spectacular putter has had these little moments of the yips, and it shocks me. But also, if you watch him putt, when he's at his best, it is less fidgety, and he sets the putter down. He has a little forward press, and it locks in nicely. And so, I mean, it's pretty easy to see fairly early on if that's where he's at on these greens, and we'll know pretty quickly. I have a feeling that he'll be just very energized by all this, and and the question is, will he be too energized? But I believe the golf course, the moment, the grasses, everything that's kind of lined up, and just the sense that we got from him today, he's in a great place. He was very happy with the way last week went, and he was almost apologetic about that bizarre pre-shot, almost full backswing he takes. And he's just a dream character for us. He's a lot like Lee Trevino, only he's not, doesn't have quite the natural comedic ability that Trevino had, but he has a lot of the same attributes in terms of his personality, and there's a savant element there to him, and we just so we're very anxious to see what he does on those greens. But it really is incredible that if you wanted somebody to hit an iron shot, it's probably right now it's he or Morikawa, or maybe Jon Rahm or Tiger. By the way, Tiger's hitting his irons awfully well right now.
Naturally, Geoff, as you can imagine, we're talking here with Geoff Shackelford, who's at Southern Hills. In this part of the world, high expectations of Shane Lowry, who's in the form of his career in some respects. I mean, winning an Open, obviously accepted. And then there's McIlroy, who's had, well, as is his wont, I suppose, a fairly interesting period from the doldrums and tears at the Ryder Cup to touch of rejuvenation, and that Sunday at the Masters almost reinstated the ceiling he can hit when he plays his best stuff. And he did okay at Wells Fargo in the only tournament he's played in between. He was kind of 2 off the lead at the turn on Sunday, and had a 3-putt and fell away a touch, but in better form certainly than he was approaching Augusta. There is the concern, this ongoing concern, Geoff, with McIlroy and putting himself out of contention early on in these major tournaments.
Yeah.
What's your read on that? Do you think that's pressure? Is it concentration? Is it just, issues with his technique coming to the fore, simple as? Or what's your read on what's happened to McIlroy in these early rounds and majors over the last couple of years now?
It really is strange. I have to think it's pressure, and it's trying to do a little too much out of the gate. And then it's one of those things, once you become aware of it, it starts to become a thing. And it may be a little bit in the head. So, and I don't have high hopes for him getting off to a great start this week either. He's learning this golf course on the fly. And I mean, he's done his work. He explained to us how he's done his research on it, and he's gotten to know it. But I think those people who came here early and who are really working a lot around the greens, and I think they're going to be a little bit of an advantage. We'll see. But I just have to think that ultimately he's so talented that so much of it is just in his head at this point. So we'll see what he's able to do on on the greens. That's the part I just look at his game from 120 yards in, and it's all about that for him. And he can miss a few fairways here, and the rough it's tough, but it's the players have been saying it's kind of interesting. We'll see some flyers. They'll be able to recover from it, I guess is my point, and that's better for us as fans to instead of hack out rough, and good for Rory, because generally he's much farther down the hole than other people. It's what does he do when he's around those greens and when he's on them, and he did a little work with Brad Fax, and he kind of shot that down the other day. But that's the other thing that so many of us watch him and just wonder, he's had these moments of great putting after working with two people, Brad Faxon and Dave Stockton, who are just gifted putters, and try to get him back to being a little less mechanical. And so that's always, to me, the thing with Rory is he just playing and putting and playing golf and not overthinking it.
Yeah. Very last question then, Geoff. Remiss of us not to at least ask one on the world number one who just won at Augusta, and yet I think so many previews just bypass Scotty Scheffler. You talk to a lot of golfers, you talk to a lot of astute golfing observers. What do we have here in Scheffler? Is this a guy who's just caught fire and may retire with 2 majors, or is this somebody who looks to you like he could stay world number one for a time and rack up 4 or 5 over the course of his career?
Well, I don't mean this as a knock, but no, I don't see him staying there in that spot, in part because there's so much parity today, and the way the equipment is, the way the money is that comes at these guys, is the situation is just very hard to maintain a certain a level of elite consistency, and so I don't see him being able to do that. I think he's going to go in. I've seen him, covered him since he played on the Walker Cup. He had a horrible week in the Walker Cup. I think we lose sight of how, I know we were spoiled by Tiger and I guess to an extent Phil and Greg Norman before them, that there are just certain people. It's just very rare to get somebody who is just so consistently good. And when you throw all those other elements, it's going to be hard for us to have somebody stand out like that unless they're once in a lifetime talent. And I don't think he's that, but what he's done has been sensational, and I think he's going to have a fantastic week this week. Same thing, loves the grasses, likes the course, has played it before in college, all those things that line up for him. So it's stunning what he's done this year, and there is more there to him. What he said after the Masters just blew us away. We're looking for great stories, and when he revealed that he was a babbling, sobbing mess on Sunday Masters morning, that was incredible. That usually takes a couple depositions and divorces and 25 years to find that out, that a player was that nervous and that worried. And so there's a soul there, but right now he's playing some incredible golf.
Yeah, he sure is. Well, the Quadrilateral is your newsletter. People can check out your work at geoffshackelford.com. Geoff with a